So I've been realizing a lot of things about why parents shame their children, and how complex and long term the kind of like strategy is with this. All right, so if your parents abuse you when you're a child and then they instill shame in you, like you need to live your life being ashamed of this, and especially if it's like some kind of abuse that totally fucks up your identity and makes you like an outcast to society, like say sexual abuse or depriving you of resources or making you an outcast to your peers or excluding you from your community in some way. If you try to build a functional identity as an adult while not integrating and ignoring the stuff you went through as a child because of your parents, you're not going to be rooted in yourself, and you're going to be disconnected from your own spirit and your own sense of intuition. Because in order to be powerful spiritually, and I'm going to get into how this goes into your own death process. In order to be powerful spiritually, you have to be integrated. You have to own and have accepted and embraced everything that's ever happened to you. So if your parents can instill shame in you and make you develop some kind of warped identity and then live your adult years as that, by the time you are ready to die and you're getting ready to pass over from this earthly life into the spirit world, you're not gonna have the strength and the intelligence and awareness to do it in a natural way. So you're gonna have to either die in a delusional identity, which would by default make your death process very painful because of how immature your spirit still is, or you have to revert back to I'm finding it hard to put this into words. Hold on. I see this pattern where people they know that their own death is approaching, and they feel so disoriented and ashamed of the stuff that they have done throughout their lives because they weren't acting in integrity, because their integrity got destroyed because of the way that their parents shamed them and forced them into fucked up situations that went against who they naturally are. So when you're getting ready to die and you cannot take accountability for the way that you've lived, it's kind of like, in some ways, when your parents want to make sure that you're going to be with them in the afterlife, they do things, and a lot of this is honestly, it's subconsciously. A lot of people don't even realize they're doing this to their children. But a lot of people do fear being separated from their family, and people fear what will happen after death. So in an attempt to control that, people try to abuse and distort their children so that their children will be so dysfunctional by the time they're ready to die that they have to then take on the identity of their parents in order to follow the same energetic pathways that their parents went through when they passed away. So codependency and having a very weak sense of identity, it starts in childhood, and it starts because your parents failed to give you the right opportunities and guidance to instill natural, authentic identity within you. So parents who have controlled and abused their kids into a shell of themselves, I've already said this. At this point, I'm just going in circles with what I've already said. I'm just trying to find a way to put it together now. So if your parent or your family shames you for who you naturally are, and they stifle you from expressing or exploring your identity as it really is, and they try to like morph you into being somebody that you're not. I feel like it's all this generational agenda to make sure that spirits within the bloodline stay in the bloodline, and they all like conjoin together in the afterlife, and none of them get separated. So I feel like I observe like bloodline throughout the generations, and how it seems like shame about identity is a binding factor that keeps all these people together spiritually. And for men, it's usually men experience shame about their own femininity. So they try to overexert their masculinity in their lifetime. And then by the time they die, their own sense of femininity is so weakened that they just kind of crumble, and then they take on the identity of their male predecessors, if that's the word. And then they follow the same energetic pathways to die that their father did. And this goes into daughters, how their mothers will manipulate them into then taking on their identity when they get older. And I guess this can even go cross-gender as well. And I'm observing this with my own parents, and it was so fucking confusing. Like, I had no idea why they were acting so weird. And now I kind of have this overarching perspective, and seeing like the real issue is that they don't want to be separated from their parents when they go into the afterlife, and they do not want me to go somewhere else in my own afterlife. They want to control and make sure that everyone stays together, because they're still too attached to this like I can't even talk anymore.